Every word that leaves your lips is a seed cast into the fertile soil of the unseen. This soil, which is the great creative substance of the universe, does not argue, does not discriminate, and does not reject. It simply takes what you plant and brings it forth into your experience. Most people speak without realizing they are continually sowing the garden of their lives, and then they are surprised when they find thorns where they hoped for roses. But the wise soul understands that speech is not idle chatter, it is the act of creation itself. When you say, "I am blessed," you plant a seed of blessing, and that seed will sprout in ways you cannot yet see. When you declare, "I never have enough," you sow a seed of lack, and the soil, being perfectly obedient, will bring forth situations to match it. The law is impartial. It does not stop to say, "Surely you did not mean that." It takes the vibration of your word, wraps it in creative substance, and returns it to you as living reality. That is why the scriptures say, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Your words are the seeds of your future harvest. Consider the gardener who tends his land. He does not toss in stones and weeds expecting to harvest golden grain. He chooses his seed carefully, waters it, and guards it against pests. In the same way, the seeds of your speech must be chosen with care. Every I am statement is a seed. I am strong, I am healthy, I am divinely guided. These seeds carry within them the pattern of what they will produce. Your job is not to figure out how they will sprout, but to plant them faithfully, knowing that the soil of spirit will do the work. Many fail to understand that casual, careless words take root just as quickly as deliberate ones. To say, "I'm so unlucky," or "I can't do anything right" in jest, is to plant weeds in your garden. The subconscious mind does not recognize humor, it receives every word as instruction. If you continually speak against yourself, you set the law in motion to fulfill your own negative prophecy. Words have a magnetic quality. They draw to you the substance of what they name. It is never too late to change your harvest by changing your seed. The moment you become aware that your words create, you gain the power to speak deliberately. You stop repeating the language of limitation and begin to declare what you desire to see. If you desire health, you speak health. If you desire wealth, you speak wealth. If you desire harmony, you speak harmony. These seeds, once spoken in faith, go forth into the invisible, attracting the people, circumstances, and opportunities necessary for their manifestation. The reason words hold such power is that they carry the vibration of thought clothed in sound. Thought alone is creative, but when it is spoken, it takes on added force. It is impressed upon the subconscious mind more deeply, and it is released into the ethers where it begins to gather its likeness. The gardener does not dig up his seed each day to see if it is growing. He trusts the process. In the same way, you must trust the law of the word. Once you have spoken in faith, let your words rest in the soil of the unseen, knowing that in due season, you shall reap if you faint not. Just as a mighty ocean liner, weighing thousands of tons, can be steered by the small movement of a rudder, so the entire course of your life can be directed by the small member called the tongue. People often imagine that their destiny is shaped only by vast decisions or great events, yet the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. It is the daily utterance, the moment-to-moment flow of words, that charts the path of one's future. The tongue is the captain's wheel of the human vessel, and every statement you make turns it ever so slightly toward one shore or another. When the sailor sets out to sea, he knows that a small deviation at the start, if maintained, will land him on a completely different coast. Likewise, your words may seem trivial in the moment, but their repetition over days, months, and years will set your life on an entirely different course. This is why it is said, "Watch your words, for they become your destiny." Your tongue can guide you to the harbors of health, wealth, and joy, or it can send you adrift toward the rocks of lack, sickness, and defeat. Many people speak as if their tongue were unconnected to the wheel of life, believing that words are only sounds carried away by the air. But the spiritual law works silently and unfailingly. What you speak with conviction and persistence sets invisible forces into motion. A man who continually declares, "I always meet the right people at the right time," is steering toward a harbor of divine appointments. A woman who constantly says, "Nothing ever works out for me," is steering toward the shoals of disappointment. The ship follows the rudder, and the rudder follows the command of the tongue. It is important to understand that the subconscious mind, the deep sea of your inner being, is always listening. It records every command and sets the machinery of life to fulfill it. The tongue, acting as the rudder, delivers the orders. These orders are not questioned, they are executed. The great ocean of substance responds without emotion, without judgment, simply obeying the direction you give. If you are drifting aimlessly, it is because your tongue has not been given a clear, consistent command. In the same way that a skilled captain keeps his hand steady on the wheel, you must keep your words steady and aligned with your chosen destination. This means refusing to speak contrary to your desired good. Even in the face of appearances, you continue to declare your course. If you are headed for prosperity, you do not say, "I can't afford it." If you are sailing toward health, you do not say, "I am always sick." You maintain your verbal compass toward the outcome you seek, knowing that the currents of life will adjust to your steadfast direction. There will always be storms, moments when circumstances seem to contradict your affirmations. But this is when the mastery of the tongue is most important. The untrained sailor lets the wheel swing wildly in the tempest, but the master holds it firm, keeping the ship pointed toward the harbor, no matter how fierce the waves. In the same way, you keep speaking words of faith, guidance, and abundance, even when appearances try to turn you aside. The tongue, like the rudder, works silently. You may not see immediate change, but day by day, degree by degree, it turns your life toward the shores you have chosen. The law of the word is impartial and unerring, moving without favoritism, prejudice, or delay. It does not consult with human judgment, nor does it consider the merits of the speaker. It simply responds to the vibration of the word and brings forth results in accordance with the seed that has been planted. Many people imagine that their words have little consequence or that some external force can override the natural law, but this is a grave mistake. Whether spoken in joy or in despair, in hope or in fear, the law listens equally to all and acts without discrimination. It is neither kind nor cruel, it simply fulfills the command given. This impartiality is one of the most important principles to understand, for it demonstrates that success or failure is never a matter of chance, but of consistent expression. When a man declares, "I am prosperous," he is issuing a command to the universal law that will be executed with precision. When another declares, "I am always in debt," he is doing the same, though unknowingly calling forth limitation and lack. The law responds to the vibration and intensity of the word, not to the speaker's intention or reasoning. This is why repeated negative statements become self-fulfilling prophecies, while positive statements set the machinery of life in motion for fulfillment and abundance. People often complain that life is unfair, that some seem to prosper effortlessly while others struggle endlessly. The truth is that every individual is receiving the exact result of the words he or she has spoken over time. The law does not punish or reward, it simply manifests what is affirmed. A child raised in fear will grow to articulate words of doubt, worry, and limitation, and the law responds accordingly. A person who chooses to speak in faith, hope, and gratitude trains the invisible forces to work in his favor. The impartiality of the law ensures that every spoken word, every affirmation, is treated with absolute fidelity. One who understands this principle will cease blaming circumstances or people for his lack, realizing that his words have been the instruments of his present condition. He will take full responsibility for what he speaks, knowing that nothing is more potent in shaping his destiny than the careful direction of his tongue. If he wishes to alter his life, he alters his speech. He learns to speak only of what he desires, and he refuses to repeat the language of fear, doubt, or limitation. In doing so, he begins to master the law, rather than allowing it to operate blindly through ignorance. It is also essential to understand that the law of the word is constantly at work, whether one is conscious of it or not. Words spoken in the marketplace, in the home, in casual conversation, all carry weight and influence. Therefore, vigilance is required, for every careless or negative remark sets in motion forces that will return in kind. The law is impartial and inexorable. It will execute faithfully what is given, whether you intend it or not. The wise soul therefore guards his speech carefully, issuing commands of abundance, harmony, and divine guidance. The law's impartiality is comforting, for it guarantees that the results of right speech will not be delayed or denied. Faithful words spoken with clarity and conviction will bring the desired manifestation, just as surely as a seed planted in fertile soil will sprout and bear fruit. There is no favoritism, no exception, no room for doubt. When the command is issued, the law moves with perfect precision, aligning circumstances, opportunities, and people to bring it to pass. Knowing this, one speaks with confidence, authority, and joy, trusting that the impartial law will work tirelessly to fulfill every spoken word in harmony with divine will. The power of speaking as if your desire already exists lies in the understanding that the subconscious mind accepts every statement as truth, without argument or judgment. It does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined, between present reality and future possibility. When you declare, "I am prosperous" or "I am healthy," the subconscious receives this statement as an absolute reality and begins to adjust your beliefs, perceptions, and actions to bring it into manifestation. Conversely, if you continually say, "I cannot succeed" or "I am always in lack," the subconscious obeys with the same unquestioning loyalty, creating the conditions that match the words spoken. Faith is the operative principle in speaking as if. To affirm your desire as already fulfilled requires unwavering confidence that the invisible forces of the universe are actively cooperating with you. It is not enough to hope or wish, you must declare in certainty, as though the reality you seek were present in your life at this very moment. This is the secret of all effective affirmative speech. The words spoken in faith carry a vibration that moves the unseen substance, attracting the circumstances, people, and opportunities necessary for the fulfillment of your declaration. Many fail to realize that the gap between desire and manifestation is closed by the law of the spoken word. The bridge is built by affirming your goal as already accomplished, for the subconscious mind responds only to the reality you present to it. If you say, "I hope to find a solution," you are implying uncertainty, and the subconscious will remain passive. If, however, you declare, "The perfect solution is now coming to me," you are instructing your inner mind to mobilize every resource to align with this truth. The invisible begins to move in response to your spoken command, working silently behind the scenes to bring your words into physical form. It is crucial to maintain consistency in this practice, for the subconscious thrives on repetition. Daily declarations, spoken with conviction, gradually reprogram the mind to accept the desired reality as fact. Over time, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to harmonize with the spoken word, creating a natural alignment that draws your desire into the visible world. The spoken word acts as a directive to the invisible, and the subconscious mind ensures that the directive is executed. In this way, what was once imagined becomes tangible, as the law fulfills the command issued through your faith-filled speech. A practical illustration of this principle can be seen in health, wealth, and personal relationships. When a person consistently speaks of vitality and wholeness, affirming that the body functions perfectly, the subconscious mind begins to guide behaviors, choices, and reactions that support health. Similarly, affirming abundance in financial matters, rather than lamenting scarcity, focuses attention on opportunities and inspires actions that lead to prosperity. The law does not need to be forced. It requires only clear, positive instructions, and it will execute faithfully. It is also important to avoid counterproductive statements that undermine the desired reality. Words of doubt, worry, or fear create friction and confusion in the subconscious, delaying or preventing manifestation. The mind hears all words with equal authority, and when contradictions are spoken, it struggles to act. Therefore, every statement should reflect the end result you wish to achieve, spoken in the present tense, with certainty and joy. The consistent practice of declaring your desires as already existing trains your subconscious mind, aligns your consciousness with the invisible forces, and sets the stage for effortless manifestation. By speaking as if your goal is already accomplished, you are not merely wishing or hoping, you are issuing a command to the universal law. This command carries the vibration of certainty, and the invisible substance responds, arranging events, circumstances, and people to bring the spoken word into visible reality. The moment you master this art, you recognize that you are not dependent on outside conditions, but that your spoken word, backed by faith, is the bridge between imagination and manifestation, between desire and fulfillment, between the invisible and the visible. Fear is the most destructive force that can be allowed to dwell in the mind, for it is the opposite of faith and the greatest enemy of manifestation. When words of fear are spoken, whether aloud or silently in thought, they plant seeds of limitation and doubt in the subconscious mind. The law of the spoken word does not question the nature of the statement, it responds with perfect impartiality. Thus, every fearful word sets into motion conditions that reflect the vibration of fear. To guard language against fear is to protect the soil of the mind from weeds that choke the growth of divine possibilities. Many people are unaware that their habitual speech carries the weight of repeated fear-based affirmations. I cannot make ends meet. I am not good enough. Something bad will happen are phrases spoken unconsciously day after day. The subconscious, hearing these statements as commands, organizes circumstances to correspond to them. It is not the external world that creates your fear. Rather, it is the internal dialogue that manifests it. Fear, once spoken, begins to draw to itself every circumstance, event, and person that reinforces the very limitation that you hope to avoid. The antidote to fear is conscious and deliberate affirmative speech. To speak words of faith, hope, and divine protection is to create a new direction in life. By affirming statements such as, I am safe, guided, and divinely protected, or all my needs are supplied in perfect order, the subconscious mind receives a new directive. It no longer organizes life according to old patterns of worry and limitation, but begins to orchestrate conditions that reflect the new vibration. Fear is not eliminated by avoidance or denial, it is transformed by replacing it with deliberate words of authority and faith. One of the most powerful aspects of guarding language against fear is the realization that the unseen forces of life respond not to what is wanted or feared, but to what is consistently declared. When fear is spoken, consciously or unconsciously, it summons circumstances that confirm the expectation. When faith-filled words are spoken, the invisible aligns to bring forth a positive outcome. The mind, like a faithful servant, cannot distinguish between temporary doubt and persistent declaration. Consistency in positive speech is therefore the key to rewriting one's life script. The process of guarding language requires vigilance and self-awareness. It is not sufficient to speak affirmations once or twice and then lapse into habitual worry. The tongue must be trained to refuse participation in fearful conversations, self-criticism, or negative predictions. Every statement should reflect trust in divine guidance, in the natural abundance of life, and in the inherent rightness of the moment. Fear thrives on repetition, and it loses power when the mind consistently affirms safety, sufficiency, and divine order. It is also essential to recognize that appearances and circumstances do not dictate the truth of your declarations. Fear often arises from what is seen or anticipated, yet the unseen is always greater than the seen. By speaking with faith and refusing to rehearse fear, you align yourself with the invisible, which holds the true substance of life. The spoken word, fortified by faith, directs the unseen to manifest the desired reality, transcending apparent obstacles and limitations. Guarding language against fear is therefore both a practice and a discipline. It involves careful observation of daily speech, the deliberate substitution of words of faith for words of doubt, and the cultivation of a mindset that perceives all conditions as opportunities for divine orchestration. As the tongue is trained to speak only in faith, the subconscious mind responds. Life begins to flow in harmony with your declarations, and fear gradually loses its hold. By consistently choosing words of life, hope, and divine guidance, you cultivate an inner climate in which your desires can grow and flourish without obstruction, and in which the law of the word serves faithfully to bring your highest intentions into manifestation. Every human being is created in the image and likeness of God, and with that likeness comes the creative power of the word. Just as God spoke the universe into being, so too does man possess the ability to bring into manifestation the unseen realities of his desire through the spoken word. This power is inherent, constant, and impartial, waiting only for conscious recognition and deliberate direction. Too often, people fail to realize that they are co-creators with the divine, believing that they are subject to circumstances rather than active participants in creation. Understanding and exercising this power is the gateway to mastery over life. The spoken word is not merely a sound or a vehicle for communication. It is a command to the invisible forces of life. Every word you speak carries with it a vibration, a directive, and a pattern that the law responds to without hesitation. When spoken in faith, the word becomes a law unto itself, shaping thought, action, and circumstance to reflect the reality declared. Conversely, careless, doubtful, or negative words summon conditions that mirror their vibration. The power inherent in your speech is as natural and as inevitable as the law of gravity. To ignore it is to leave creation to chance. To employ it consciously is to participate in the divine order of life. Those who master this principle recognize that every statement of faith is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind. The mind accepts the word without question, and in response, it begins to organize life in accordance with that statement. Health, abundance, protection, love, and joy are all brought into manifestation when declared with conviction. The invisible forces of the universe, acting as faithful servants, respond to the command of the spoken word, arranging circumstances and attracting the people necessary to fulfill the decree. In this way, one speaks not as a supplicant, but as a co-creator with the divine. It is important to understand that mastery of the spoken word requires awareness, discipline, and consistency. The law is impartial, executing faithfully whatever is spoken, whether it is aligned with your highest good or not. Fear, doubt, and complaint will produce corresponding conditions, just as surely as faith, hope, and positive declarations will produce blessings. Therefore, careful stewardship of the tongue is essential. Speak only that which you wish to see manifest, and speak it with confidence, joy, and certainty. By doing so, you establish your word as a command, and the law moves in perfect order to bring it into reality. Many people struggle with the belief that external circumstances dictate their reality, but the law of the spoken word teaches otherwise. It is not the world that controls you, it is your words. Each utterance, each affirmation is a declaration that sets the machinery of life in motion. The invisible substance of the universe is obedient. It acts according to the blueprint provided by your speech. This truth empowers every individual to take full responsibility for their life. For success, health, and prosperity are not matters of luck, inheritance, or chance, but of conscious, deliberate creation through words spoken in faith. The practice of speaking with authority involves more than positive thinking. It requires the clear, deliberate declaration of desired outcomes as if they already exist. When a person says, "I am prosperous," or "I am guided and protected," with conviction, the subconscious mind accepts the statement as law and immediately begins to align thoughts, emotions, and actions with that truth. The spoken word thus becomes the bridge between imagination and reality, between desire and manifestation. By recognizing and exercising the creative power inherent in your speech, you align yourself with the divine order and become a conscious co-creator in your life. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance, but rather the master of your destiny. The law of the spoken word is your ally, and when employed with faith, clarity, and discipline, it manifests every desire that is in harmony with your highest good, demonstrating the divine principle that man, like God, is a creative force whose words have the power to shape the world.